Hi everybody, thank you very much for watching this video. I apologize if it's a bit of a mess because it's the first video I'm making in this way. And I haven't written a script for it. I'm just going to talk a little bit and show you a few things. To begin with, for anyone who might not have noticed, one of the videos on the Firecracker channel has been taken down completely now. It's this one here. Polish historian Ewa Kurek challenges idea of Judeo-Christian civilization. No such thing. She says basically that there's no such thing. And she explains why in the video. She talks about how Christians and Jews have different mentalities and react differently in different situations, and they have different rules that they go by. And that's why there is no Judeo-Christian civilization. This, of course, was too much for YouTube. At the beginning, the video was simply limited. You couldn't put any comments in there. You couldn't share it. You couldn't do certain standard things. You couldn't like it. It was there though, but you couldn't do a whole lot with it, and it was more difficult to find. And then after introducing their hate speech policy, it's now gotten taken down completely. They thought, you know what, at first they thought, we're just going to limit it. We're going to try to make as few people be able to see it as possible. And then they went, fuck it, let's just take it down completely because we don't like it. Even though it's a video where a respected Polish academic, a historian, is talking and giving very particular points as to why this isn't actually a civilization, this Judeo-Christian idea that's mostly used by the right, actually. The left tend not to talk about Judeo-Christian because it has the term Christian in it that they don't want to ever say. I know the left, whenever you talk about the West or you talk about Europe, they don't like this idea that it's Christian or that it was founded on Christianity. But the right do. They use the term Judeo-Christian, some of the people on the right and some of the groups on the right. And she's basically just talking about how this isn't the case and here's why. And this was too much. The video was flagged for review, and upon review they determined that it violated their guidelines. And they took it off of YouTube. And I am aware, of course, that there are many channels that are having a lot of videos taken down constantly. This is just one so far that I've had, probably because this isn't a channel that has tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of subscribers, so they don't see it as that much of a threat for now. Although, of course, I thank you, the subscribers, whoever is subscribed, for subscribing. But it's one for now. I'm sure there'll probably be more. But yeah, just to let you know, that's what happened. In case you're wondering where that video is, it was here. I haven't taken it down. They took it down. Now on to the hate speech policy by YouTube. They introduced this, I think, on the 5th of June. They announced some changes. Hate speech isn't allowed on YouTube. They will take off content promoting violence or hatred against individuals or groups based on these attributes. And you have this whole bunch of attributes here. Now, the first part, I think many others can happily agree with. Promoting violence? Of course. If you are promoting violence, if you are threatening others with violence, if you are telling other people to attack any of these groups or anyone, then I think absolutely that should be taken down because you are leading or you are encouraging a situation where people get physically hurt. The problem is promoting hatred, because how on earth do you determine what hatred is? If you say something about another group, and it could be related to their race, ethnicity, religion. I mean, let's take religion, for example. There are many religious people, there are religions. There are also people who have no religion and believe that religions, generally are stupid. And they see them as more of an ideology than anything that's real. It's just ideas that people have about the world. And they might criticize those ideas. And if they criticize those ideas, that could be deemed as hateful and unacceptable. So now already we're shutting down debate. Here, a little thing, origins of hate speech. There's a nice paragraph here about how if you, let's see, today a public statement against illegal immigration or same-sex marriage can be labeled hate speech. So here you go. If you criticize illegal immigration or same-sex marriage, it's hate speech. That could just be your view. Why on earth would being against illegal immigration be hate speech? The very term illegal should raise an eyebrow, shouldn't it? If something is illegal and you're criticizing it, why on earth would that be hate speech? Same-sex marriage, another one. I'm sorry, but the three main religions in the world, Judaism, Islam, and Christianity, are all against same-sex marriage. And yet, the Southern Poverty Law Center routinely includes pro-family groups in its list of hate groups based solely on their opposition to same-sex marriage. So here we have a problem, because it seems that very personal views, some of them could be linked to your religious faith, or even views like, hey, I'm against you allowing millions of people into this country illegally, are now considered hate speech. If we look a little further down here, we have types of content that violate this policy. Praising or glorifying violence against individuals or groups based on the attributes noted above. That would be these lovely attributes here. That could be deemed as hate speech. Now here's the problem, for YouTube at least. Most of those that do these things are on the left. People who praise and glorify violence tend to be on the left. So this policy, I'm assuming, is aimed at people on the left. In fact, if we go further down here, there's a bit here about, if I can just find it, let's see. Here we go. Yeah, it's just here. I'm glad this violent event happened. They got what they deserved. That's absolutely a thing that the left does. Whenever conservatives or people on the right have an event or they have a march, they will get attacked by Antifa and other left-wing organizations. And then people will go on social media and praise this and talk about how wonderful it is. People had milkshakes thrown at them recently. That's assault. If you spit at somebody in their face, that's assault. If you throw a liquid at someone, that's actually assault. So people were praising assault. They were praising criminal acts, and they were okay to do that. So it seems that YouTube is cracking down on the left. Using stereotypes that incite or promote hatred based on any of these attributes. Now again, very, very vague. What does that mean, using stereotypes? A lot of stereotypes tend to stem from facts, actually. And a stereotype is often an amplified version of facts. So if people say this particular group or these particular people behave in this way, or if they say they always do this, that might be amplified, that might be exaggerated, but it stems from the fact that some people from those groups actually have done this, or even quite a lot of people from these groups do this. So you might just be making a general thing saying, well, people from this country or people from this culture act in this way, and sometimes that might be a negative way that they act, but you're just saying that based on what you've seen, based on evidence, and that can be considered hate speech. Conspiracy theories ascribing evil, corrupt, or malicious intent to individuals or groups based on any of the attributes noted above. One of those is religion. The amount of videos I have seen on YouTube talking about how the Catholic Church is evil, it's a satanic cult, the Pope is the Antichrist, and the followers of the Catholic Church, Catholics, are basically following an evil satanic cult led by the Antichrist. Well, let's just say there's quite a few of them, and they're there. YouTube isn't taking them down, and I don't think YouTube should have to take them down. But it's funny how these videos do exist, and YouTube likes to pick and choose what's okay and what isn't. I'm pretty sure if you did a video talking about how Islam is an evil religion run by evil people and those who follow it are evil, it'd get taken down quite quickly. Deny that a well-documented violent event took place. Again, YouTube is going to be the arbiter. They're going to decide what a well-documented event is, and it has to be violent for some reason. They're going to have experts who are going to be reading articles and checking sources and telling us, this is well-documented, this happened. Anyone who puts out a video suggesting that this didn't happen, or that it didn't happen quite as we're saying it happened, or the sources we've checked are saying it happened, aren't allowed. And there's plenty of things here that are just, go out there and punch a person with attributes noted above. Now this is very interesting actually, because again, this is what the left does, punch a Nazi, very simple, right? Now if you actually look up any protected attributes, of course Nazi isn't in this, right? So you can therefore go and punch a Nazi because they're not protected. The trouble is, who the heck is a Nazi? Lots of people get labeled Nazis. They get labeled white supremacists. They get labeled anti-Semites and all other kinds of things. So it's enough to label someone something, use the right language, these people are this, and then this whole get out there and punch a rule that YouTube has won't actually apply because Nazis can be punched. In fact, since I've now moved on to language, I want to play another video. This one was actually a response to this whole issue of calling these places that, these camps, I suppose, or these places that refugees are held in America, concentration camps. And they're having a little debate about whether that term should be used. And there's a guy on the left who, you'll see him talking a couple of times. He talks about how important it is to use this kind of language. He's actually talking about weaponizing language, basically. In this particular context, they're talking about doing it against Trump and against the Republican Party. But it's very interesting. It's a very interesting leftist tactic to use language and weaponize it. And you see how important it is to this guy and how emotional he gets about how this is so important. Language is everything. So just have a listen. It's almost a minute. There's some people talking in between there, but it's mainly the guy on the left side. Just have a listen to what he says.
We're on the road to fascism, and
yes.
camp is an aspect of fascism.
And concentration will throw me in a lot of this. And if you want to take on Trump, start using language that's going to blow his mind away.
You see, if you want to take on Trump, start using certain language, right? So this is it's a weapon. It's a strategy. If you want to take him on, you've got to use particular language.
I have to disagree with that. I work a lot on immigration issues and looking at the polling on this. Personally, yes, I think technically there is a point there. And when you see members of like a Japanese American internment camp community come out and say that they believe the language.
Yeah, George Sakai came out and said, yeah,
right.
I was at their concentration camps. I was in two of them.
Okay, I take that point, but here's the key. we don't actually need to use that language in order for that argument to be won. If you look at what happened in no, you absolutely don't.
Language is the key to everything.
It is,
language is how we communicate.
It is.
If we don't take names and kick ass and use language that
with all due respect,
upsets the Republicans, we're screwed. Come on, what kind of wimps are we?
Tom, with all due respect.
There you go. What kind of wimps are they? If they don't use language that upsets the, in this case, Republicans, then they're screwed. So it's all about language is the key for them. And it's so important for them. And that's why these terms, white supremacist, Nazi, all these things, anti-Semite, and to be able to just stick that label on you, that's what they need. Because then people in their head go, wait, if this person is a Nazi or an anti-Semite, then they're evil, then I can't be on their side. It's so key, and if you get called an anti-Semite, if you get called a Nazi, or if you get called a white supremacist or whatever else, you're immediately fighting an uphill battle because you've had that label. The very fact you're defending yourself from it is now disadvantageous to you. It's the same when someone gets accused of a sexual crime or a pedophilia, and they're in the paper as being alleged to have done this, and then here's their statement trying to defend themselves. Already the connotations are evil. The connotations are negative. It's okay, this guy's, and people are associating your name with pedophilia, with sexual abuse. You might not have done anything. You've just been accused. You've just been given, a label that, in that case of pedophilia or sexual abuse, you probably would have just been accused of it. But here you're given the label. You're called. They don't even accuse you. They don't even say, we think you might be a white supremacist. They just outright say these people are white supremacists, these people are Nazis, without any evidence, without any proof, without any examples of them ever having done anything like this that would suggest they are. But that's all it takes. And then a lot of people, sadly, rather than going, well, hold on a second, they've been given this label, let's have a look and see if this is true. When did they say something, for example, that would confirm they're a Nazi? And then when they can't find anything, they go, hold on a second, this isn't true. They'll just go, oh, this person's a Nazi. Well, it's horrible. It's horrible, and it's weaponization of language, and it's very sad. They have all these things, I mean, there's a whole bunch of them here. I mean, some of them are very specific. Here, for example, groups with any of the attributes noted above has an agenda to run the world or get rid of us. I mean, that's obviously one aimed at anyone who's going to say anything about Jewish power in Hollywood, Jewish power in the banks. Anyone who talks about that is going to be taken down. So they're setting some of these things up specifically. I mean, this is again relating to a very specific incident. The so-called victims of this violent event are actors. No one was hurt. It was just a false flag. I mean, that is one specific person on website who spoke about a specific shooting and claimed that it wasn't real. And they've given that example basically without actually talking about it. We know, a lot of people know exactly what the example that is. So it's just absurd, it's vague, and I actually think vagueness is the key to this, because if it's vague, they can do what they want. I mean, they've given a bunch of examples, but it even says at the bottom here, please remember these are just some examples. So there are plenty of examples that aren't here that you could think, well, that wasn't sort of in their example, so perhaps this is okay. And then they'll go, no, yeah, well, that wasn't there, but it still qualifies. So yeah, I'm sure people have talked about this. I just decided to make a video because I just was having a look at this recently, and it frightened me just how absurd and vague this is and how easy it is going to be for them now to take down videos. And I know there's already been a purge. A lot of people have had videos taken down. But it's something to keep an eye on. And it's good to know. There's got to be hopefully a way to fight against this. Hopefully some of the more influential people on the right might try to figure out ways to get around this, figure out ways to set up platforms that can give people actual free speech. But until then, it's just good to know what's going on. It's important to know what's going on. It's important to understand why these things are happening. They're not happening because they're trying to make YouTube, in this case, a safe space for people, but it's because they just want to take down content that they disagree with. So thank you for watching. I apologize if the video was a little bit, you know, of a car crash or whatever. I wasn't, as I said, I wasn't reading anything. I was just talking and showing you a couple of things. And I hope to put up more videos soon, and I wish you well.